The first time I went to Keyhole Reservoir, long story short, I went looking for pike, walleyes, and bass, and I was fairly close-minded about the whole thing. And the reason that I was is it felt like it was going to be slam dunk conditions, and I'm looking around at the weather and it just felt like it was going to go really good, and I maybe got a little overconfident. Guys, I want to point out that's my very first cast with a jerkbait, and that is a pig smallmouth. Look at that thing, guys. This is where we started fishing, right there. 14,000 acre lake. We started fishing on that first rock, and look at the size of that smallmouth. Oh my. And he's got a whole face full of jerkbait. We're gonna need a net, and I didn't even have my net out yet. Ooh, buddy. Look at that thing. Holy schmoly, that's a nice smallmouth bass, guys. And there's my little Cutter 90. I don't know how many times we got to show you that thing, but looky there, boys. Right off the bat, 71-degree water, guys. And that's a good looking smallmouth bass. And this is the first main lake point, my first cast on it with a jerkbait. I threw a jig on it real quick, nothing happened. Put the jig down, camera guy says, pick up the jerkbait. Pick up the jerkbait, and that's a beauty. How about them apples, guys? All right, let's get her put back. I thought, oh, we're done now. This Cutter 90, they're gonna murder this thing. It's gonna be game over. And we ran over the place throwing that thing around, and guess what? It was not game over. We caught a couple of fish here and there. We caught a couple of fish on other reaction baits. The War Pig, which is a lipless crankbait, yo-yoing that thing. Walter. And he absolutely smashed a 3/4 ounce War Pig. I told you guys we wanted to fish aggressive. Look at that. That walleye absolutely smashed this War Pig, and I'm working it real aggressive here. We're gonna be careful with him because I'd really like him to stay on. He's barely hooked. Come here, buddy. Come up in here. That's a nice thick one, guys. And a lot of guys don't think about that, but there's that Berkeley War Pig right there. You can see it. That's a 3/4 ounce bait. It's calm as glass. If you look out here, look how calm the lake is, guys. And a lot of people don't think of that bait, but our fish are really negative. We know that. They are hard to catch. They'll bite a jerkbait maybe, but they want they won't even look at anything slow. I can't even get a sniff on a jig or anything like that. And sometimes when it's real calm and the fishing's tough, I've said a million times, you either fish the fastest bait or the slowest bait in your box. Well, that's about as fast and aggressive as it gets. It's a good looking walleye, guys. And we're gonna put him back. I love these guys, but you see all those teeth in there? That's because they're serious predators. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in the drink. We're gonna kiss him. We need all the luck we can get. And we're gonna put him back right here gracefully. There at Keyhole, once again, inlets, outlets, boat ramps, and dams. We say it all the time. We found a couple of first of all, we caught fish right on the boat ramp, and I mean literally right on and around the boat ramp, fishing right on the concrete. The dam, we caught fish consistently right around the dam and the outlet. That was the most consistent place for us probably to catch fish, was around the dam or the dam area. These guys are seriously aggressive in this lake. Then we found several little pockets that had creeks coming in the back. There were seasonal creeks and also produced fish in those as well. Another smallmouth, and he ain't a monster, but that's another one. Now we're in a pocket on the other side of the lake, so this is a completely different scenario, and that ain't a giant smallmouth by any stretch, but it's a completely different scenario than how we've caught the others other than the same bait. The inlet, outlet, boat ramp, dam thing that we always talk about, even in a place like Keyhole where we really didn't connect with the fishery at the level I wanted to, the fundamentals still worked. I think at the end of the day, I would like to have had more time on the lake or a more consistent weather pattern to see if we could produce some of the really big fish. But the quality of the smallmouth that showed themselves made it clear that they're in there. The body conditioning of a couple of the walleyes we caught also made it clear that the right fish are there. And you wonder why we talk about the mixed bag with the jerkbait, guys. And I don't think we even need to net him. I think we can just pull him up in the boat. And that is why we throw Berkeley Cutter 90s. And we talked to the state parks people. They said there's no size limit on these. In my mind, that's a perfect sandwich looking for a place to happen. So we're gonna box that one and eat it. But Yeah, you know, the jerkbait. We have now caught 2 fish on this point on the same bait, and both of them, you know, mixed species, and that's exactly why we throw that little cutter 90. And that's probably a 16-inch walleye. He ain't much. He's a perfect eating size fish right there, guys. So we'll box him and we'll make some tacos. Here at Fishful Thinker, I'm a big believer in being honest with our audience. If we only showed you all of our big fish, you guys would have quit watching years ago. So it's more important that we show you sometimes our struggle days. And if you look on that episode, there was like 10, 15 rods on the deck of the boat several different times, because that's me working through it. And we can't always put that on television, but I probably rotated through maybe a half dozen different crankbaits, a couple different lipless crankbaits, a couple different jerkbaits, for sure several different jigs. But at no point did we get around a group of fish that I felt like we could just sit and jig them up for a long period of time. So we just really stuck to covering as much water, looking for active fish, and taking advantage of the silly ones that would be willing to pounce on our stuff. We kept it consistent with the crappies. Our other numbers were for sure the smallmouth that ranged from little to big. Same thing with the walleyes, and we just never caught a big pike. I didn't even know for sure I had one. It's a little tiny smallmouth, and if you look, there's that little broken rock right there. And I just finished telling camera guy Tim that if there's gonna be one, they're gonna be on this broken stuff, not the bluff. Now that ain't much of a smallmouth, but he does confirm that they'll be on that broken stuff. And so I can run around and look just like that and know that I'm in the ballpark. So he's a wee little guy. And I'm gonna look at this point with this tree on it, with that little shady spot, and think to myself, yeah, that might be a good spot. So we're gonna throw this up there and see what happens. And I'm gonna throw it across the point, big long throw, pull it down, see what happens. Keep the bait moving. There he is right there, right on the end of that point, just like that. That's how you're supposed to do it. And I'm not sure what we got. Looks like another smallmouth, but that's classic spot right there. I mean, there's a point leading into the back of a pocket, and again, it's not a giant smallmouth, but it illustrates my point perfectly. There appears to be no shortage of smallmouth in this pocket, so we'll fish real thoroughly through here and see if we can find perhaps a larger one. Like, well, we'll see, I don't know. That point's giving him up now though. That's 2 in a row. And in the very first pocket we went and looked in, that's a walleye on that spot right there. So that's 2 different species on that same point. And he is not one we will be eating. But look at that little guy. Ain't he cute? That's about classic walleye, and there's the jerkbait he ate.